All right, looks like everyone has connected. Welcome to our Power BI for Accountants training session. My name is Haley. I'm the admin coordinator here at Smart Dolphins. Before handing it over to our trainer, I'd quickly like to share some information on our upcoming public webinars. Coming up on Thursday, November the 14th, we are doing a Microsoft Copilot event. On November 21st, we have a Microsoft Teams focused on virtual meetings training event. And November 28th is a cybersecurity for leaders. As we are in Teams now, please feel free to pop your questions into the Q&A section here in the webinar. And if you have any problems, please feel free to chat with us in the chat there. We will tackle questions probably at the end of today's session. If there's something larger or you're unsure about the demo, please reach out. All right, I'd like to hand it over to our trainer, Shannon. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Haley, and welcome everyone to this very special webinar event. This is Power BI for the financial professionals, and I truly am excited to be here with you today. And just a little bit about myself. My name is Shannon Lynch, and I'm the founder of the Power BI Coach, a small but mighty firm based here in Toronto, Canada. I am a certified Power BI data analyst and trainer, and I've trained hundreds of students as well as organizations across the world. And at the very heart of what I do is I enjoy not only Power BI, but also upskilling and training and also developing resources and reports and analysis for organizations so that they are able to gain the most out of their data and also provide insights to their stakeholders or to their internal customers as well. Now, we've trained over 2,000 plus students worldwide, and at the heart of what we do is just the passion behind data overall and data literacy. Now, I see here that we have a fairly decent sized group. And so what I'm going to do is, now that you know a little bit about me, and you'll get to learn about our co-presenter, Frank, in a moment. But I would like to field a question here in the chat. And what I want to ask is if you can just click on the survey link really quickly. Just want to get a sense as to who do we have within our audience here. I don't want to assume that we're all Power BI professionals, especially with a webinar. So I just want to get a good indication as to where you are along your Power BI journey. All right, so we have a couple questions there. If you can go to the link, it's in the chat. What is your current experience with the Power BI application? So there's a few folks here, perhaps that you've used a couple reports before, or maybe you are currently developing reports. Just want to get a good sense as to what who's here with us today. All right, so let's keep those coming in here. You know, it's always tricky with the Microsoft Forums. Sometimes it works live, sometimes it doesn't. It looks like it's working great today. All right, let's take a look at the response here. So we see here 22% never use Power BI. So we have a lot of sort of beginners here. We also have, let's see, a few folks that have played around with Power BI as well. Let's see if it's going to allow me to scroll down. All right, so we do have a healthy 13% that are interested in upskilling for more advanced reports. That's interesting. And I would like to implement Power BI reports for my organization. So perhaps a few of you are using Excel or some legacy systems and would like to gain more understanding on how you can actually deploy Power BI within your organization. All right, so we have a pretty good balance here, I would say, and we're going to attempt to do as best as we can to relay as much information within the next 60 minutes regarding Power BI. So just want to preface something here that we are going to be focused primarily, obviously, with the financial sector. So everything that we will be doing, Frank will be doing a demo a little bit later on here, but this is really specific to the financial sector of things. All right. So yeah, I could just kindly ask anybody that's joined if you could just mute your mic. All right, awesome. And please remember that the recording will be available for this as well. Okay, so everyone, let's dive into it here. Let's get back my slides. All right, so let's just do a quick overview as to what exactly is Power BI. Now, Power BI is a business intelligence tool that allows you to organize, analyze, and then visualize that data that you have from various sources in a meaningful way. Now, Power BI easily creates interactive dashboards and reports using charts, tables, and visuals that you're able to share those insights across your organization and within your teams. Now, Power BI really is built upon a set of core principles that of ingesting data, modeling data, transforming data, visualizing that data, and finally being able to present or serve that data up via the Power BI service. And the one interesting way in which Power BI allows for this to happen is through the means of the data source connectors. Now, when we talk about data connectors, the best way to think of a connector is it acts as a bit of a bridge between your external data, and that could be residing in any system, whether it's in a SQL database or Oracle or SAP or Salesforce, really any sort of system, whether it's an ERP of some sort, by bridging the gap and allowing you to harness that information from those sources to bring them together into a consolidated data semantic model. And Frank will talk a little bit more about how semantic models play a very important role in the construction of financial reporting. The Power BI Desktop is the free application that is supplied by Microsoft, and this is the application that is used. You can download it free from the Microsoft website, and this is where you will author your reports. Once you build your reports, it is then further published to the third area, which is the Power BI web service. And this web service is a licensed service, so there is a different paid portion of the Microsoft ecosystem where you're able to serve up those reports, whether it's through a web portal or through a mobile device or embedded in things such as a SharePoint site or in another application, just to name a few ways that you can share your reports across your organization. Now, some of the quick benefits here for the Power BI financial reporting or reporting in Power BI in general. One is automated data consolidation. Now, this is what's important. Probably a lot of you have a lot of data sitting in an Excel spreadsheet somewhere, maybe in a SharePoint, maybe even in Oracle or within QuickBooks. What's great about Power BI is you are able to automate this process by having a single source of truth, which is your data semantic model, which will allow you to curate that information into a data model that is sustainable, that you can refresh at certain intervals to give your report users the latest and greatest information. There's also the real-time financial dashboarding and enhanced trend analysis and forecasting. So there's a lot of features available out of the box with Power BI. And so you think about building, whether it's a P&L statement or some sort of financial forecasting or modeling, Power BI has the capability not only to harvest the information, but to visually represent that in a meaningful and sustainable way for your audience. Some of the key features for specifically for accountants and for those that are in the financial sector is the data transformation and modeling. It has a robust ETL tool, and the ETL stands for extract, transform, and load. And this is designed to give you the maximum flexibility to transform your data. So a lot of times you might be required to massage or to transform that data to get it into a more conducive format whereby you can create your reports. There's also the extension of DAX calculations, which allows for you to create things such as gross profit, EBITDA, and various other calculations that may not be native to your source data, but you can extend that data by leveraging the DAX calculations. Very similar to what you would see in your Microsoft Excel. And of course, there is the immersive and interactive visualization capabilities within Power BI. And this is probably by and far one of the most sought after features. There is a huge library of visuals, a lot of artificial intelligence that's now being augmented on top of that with Copilot. And so you can see here that this is sort of your one-stop shop, not only to design your reports, but to also share your reports for report collaboration. All right. And with that said, just to kind of give you a nice overview as to Power BI and how it can benefit your workflow, I'm now going to take this opportunity to hand it over to Frank, who will walk you through our demo for the day. And we'll be back towards the end to take any of your questions. All right, Frank, over to you. Oh, I think you're on mute, Frank.
Yeah, for the safety, always put myself on mute. You can see the screen, the presentation screen. Yeah. Okay, so I can present myself a little bit. So I am also financial. So my background is I'm a CPA. I worked with EY for 9 or 10 years. And then I went over to the management and did some finance functions in management, and then ended up in the BI sector. And then I built for a hospital together with another guy, Power BI. And then I thought this is beautiful. So a few years ago, I think 3 or 4 years ago, I started for myself. And I'm now hosting some online courses. I have a small YouTube channel. I'm part of the BI Samurai. I also part of the Learn Power BI Pro community. And I just enjoying Power BI. And for financials, so as you people, it is way repeatable and more sustainable than Excel. So that's why I was very enthusiastic about the Power BI, and I moved over to it. Let's see what we can do with Power BI. This is the standard, we call it ELT or ETL, it's just how you name it, but you extract your data from sources. Then we're going to load it. Power BI Desktop, that's also what Shannon already said, has 2 parts. So it has a backend part and a front end part, and I'm going to show you both. And the backend part, you work with Power Query, and the knowledge you do with Power Query, you can also use that same knowledge for Excel. So Power Query is also part of Excel. So you can use your if you already have a Power Query knowledge, then you can use it in Power BI, and otherwise you can do it in Excel. And on the front end, today I'm gonna show how you build a dashboard from start. And we already built a data model, and I also built some measures. And the measures are in a language called DAX. So that's Power BI. And then on the desktop, if you build it, then you can present it to the end users, and that you do in the Power BI Online. Just to get you comfortable, this is for finance people. So you have your balance sheet, you have your P&L, debit and credit, and this is what a lot of financial people already know. But if you are going to look into the data, you're going to see more like you're searching for the tables. And in a table, it's more presented like this. So you have all the accounts with a positive and negative numbers, and it's all summing up to 0. And for the finance people, you also know a lot of the times the range of your account codes are also determine if you are working with a P&L or a balance sheet. So that's for building parts. You can you can see and recognize that. Then I move over because I want to go a little bit deeper, not only have the table, but I want to have all the transactions, and that you have in the general ledger. So the general ledger, we're going to find that really in the system. So you don't want to have it in Excel. You want to have the system and connect to the system, because Power BI has a lot of connectors. So there are vendors that build custom connectors. You can use the standard connectors from Power BI if you have an SQL database or something else. So it's a lot of connecting on the backend part. In my report, I also want to have like a layout for the financial report. So I use a standard chart of accounts and a P&L layout. The P&L layout is often in Excel, because that's very specific for a company, and the chart of accounts is sometimes in Excel, sometimes in a system. It's just depending on it. Just to recap, so we have a general ledger, we have a chart of accounts, we have a format. You can also have a balance sheet format. Today I will look at the P&L layout. Oh, by the way, I forget to mention, if I'm not good in English, I'm from the Netherlands. So I live in Europe. So I'm at 9 o'clock at the moment. And my normal language is Dutch. So that's by the way. We also want to travel by time. So we need a calendar. So you can also make a calendar in different ways. You can do it in Power Query. You can do it in DAX. You can use a SQL table with already a calendar in it. So that's that depends on your project every time. But there are more ways. And then we want also have an organization structure to benchmark or to just look at different parts. This is then presented like a data model. So we connect the general ledger with the chart of accounts and the chart of accounts with the P&L format. We also have a balance sheet, not at this time, but we have a calendar and organization structure. We call this a fact table because here are all the details, all the transactions, all the entries from the company. And these are more like lookup tables to present stuff. And that are dimension tables. So this is mostly in the same system, the chart of accounts and the general ledger. Sometimes it's the chart of accounts in Excel, mostly the P&L format in Excel, and you have an organization structure, and you want also have this in a system, because then you can use role level security, so that only the departments where people are manager from, they see only their own division or their own. So you can filter Power BI automatically. So you don't have to make 4 or 5 reports and filter it for them in Excel, what you do with with the pivot, but it's already you can already do it in the data set. The calendar already talked about. This is how it looks like in a data model and a relationship in Power BI. So you have a data model, and we make a few relationships. So we already did this for you. So we see the chart of accounts we joined based on the and the chart of accounts with the profit and loss based on the account group. The group we joined with the account code, and the date we joined with the date, and the general ledger organization key we joined with the division number. So that's our setup. And we also added an extra calendar that's not ready in this one, but we're gonna watch it in a second. Then we made some measures. This is the most big measure we have. So this is a P&L. This is called DAX, and this is just like we write, and I'm going to show it in a second. We write down how we want to build our P&L, because we're going to make a P&L in today. Okay, let's start with a live demo, because enough talking. This is the desktop. So you have your ribbon, you have your tape sheets, and on the sheet you can put on visuals here on the right side. On the left side you can see we have a few buttons. So this is the report view, so you can build a report in it. This is the table view, so you can see all the tables in detail with all the rows. This is the data model, so we already discussed this one, and I entered an extra calendar. And then we have also the option to go to the back end, and that was the first slide I showed. You have the Power Query. So this is Power Query, and in Power Query, for the people that are not knowing Power BI, in Power BI you can just add blank or a connector. So you can choose between Excel, SQL, and data platform, all kinds of connectors, and then you can retrieve data. And we can make with our ribbon or in advanced editor just with coding, but I prefer to do it in the ribbon first time if you are just a starter with Power BI. Every step you take, so you're gonna make you change a data type, you insert a merged column. So you can see I make an account. I want to see the account code and account name together. Then we do it in a step. and then the step is repeatable. So next time if we refresh it, Power BI will automatically perform these steps, and that's for every data. So enough of the Power Query. Today we're going to not use Power Query a lot. We're going to just build the report from the front end. So we start with a blank page. We already have measures. So we put the measures in a separate table here on the right side. So you see all different measures, and I have folders with measures in it. And then you see here are the tables. So we can use the tables, the fields from the tables, or we can use measure. Now we're gonna make our dashboard. So we start with a P&L. So I want to have a matrix. A matrix is a little bit like a pivot table in Excel. And I want to have our format. So I'm gonna show the format because that's necessary. This is our layout. So we have our layout we want to present. So we have some blank lines. We have some subtotals. And this is just a small P&L, but you can make it as long as you want. You can use a sorting. So you present this column, the P&L layout, but you sort based on another column. So that we're going to see in a moment. So we're going to add now the layout to our matrix, but we don't have any values in it. So we built already a measure. This is a normal amount. So this is just a sum of all the amounts in Power BI. So if in the general ledger, if we do that, you can see we don't have any subtotals or we don't have any blank lines. Well, we had to build a complicated measure for that, and that we did with this P&L measure. Basically, this is a variable, and we say we let Power BI know on which row we are in our P&L layout, and based on the row, we are returning a part of this measure. So we say if it's cost of sales, then we want to have the normal amount and multiply it by -1. If we are on the gross margin, then we have created a specific subtotal that is calculating the gross margin because that's not in our data set. So we create the subtotal just in Excel. You are putting the revenue and the cost of sales. Well, we also do it here in Power BI, in DAX. So we're going to grab this one. Now you see more. Now you see also the gross margin. We're going to remove the amount. And we also want to see the blank lines. So we say we want to show data, items with no data. So now we already have a little bit of a first part of P&L. And we're going to add a slicer because we want to slice on time, on the time dimension. So I'm going to add a slicer, a year to it. And where is it? You can put it, you can just, if you want to search something from tables, a field, you can write it and search it with a search bar. That's easier than open every table and search for the fields. So we have a year and we have month and year. And now I don't want to see it like this. I want to have it drop down. So we go to slicer settings. So this is the data. If we use a visualization, so we can choose one, we can drag and drop based on what we choose. Now we have a slicer. That's this visual. You can drag and drop fields into it. And then we can use formatting options to make it more to our needs. So that I'm going to do a lot in this demo. So we go to the slicer settings. I choose a drop down. And now we have a drop down to select a month or a year. So let's take a month. Now we have the P&L, but we also want to see other. We want to see compare with history. So we want to have comparative figures. Therefore, we have another measure. So I'm going to clean this one up. And I open the measures. And I call this P&L last year. So this is grabbing our measure. And in Power BI is like Lego. You can reuse every measure. So we can say, okay, I want to have this measure and then manipulate it by time. Just use the same period last year based on the calendar we added in our model. So I'm going to add this. And now you're going to see this is October from this year, or from 2022. And this is October for 2021. Well, just to make it visual, if we go to 21 October, then you see the same amount, but then in the current year. Okay, so just doing this. But we also want to deduct these two from each other. So another measure, Lego blocks, add to it. Also in percentage, add to it. So now we have a first P&L. You see on the top zeros, and that's because, and I have to add something, the account subgroup from the chart of accounts. Yep. Now I put in the next extra row. It's just in a pivot table in Excel. We can now expand this, so we can see what's beneath it. So you see revenue has discounts and gross of sales, but the zeros are the balance sheets. So we have to filter it because in chart of accounts have balance and P&L, but we only have P&L in our layout table. So we want to filter this one out. Simply go to chart of accounts, I think, or financial type, chart of accounts, VS. So in the chart of accounts, we say we only want to have the on this page, we only want to have the profit and loss accounts. So this is just a simple filter. And now you don't have to see anymore the zeros. Now we want to see also not only the total of the company, but we want to see it divided by how are our divisions doing. So we're going to grab a stack bar chart. Oh, redo it. Just press anywhere on the field, on the layout, on the page, and then we're going to add the division. And I want to see the change. So I want to see this number, what is doing great, and what our divisions are doing bad. So we're going to select the difference for the x-axis and then our division from the horizontal. And now we see already France has 329 and Germany has 50 and all this together is this 109. Now let's do a quick cleanup so you don't see the numbers here. So if I go to the visual, I go to the data labels, I turn it on, and I say I just want to have not Power BI is already do stuff automatically. So the values, the display units, he already make it millions, and I don't want to have that. So you can adjust everything just in like in Excel, what you want to see. So I say none, and now you see the total amounts. You can also use a drop down. So now we have the division, but we also have the region. So if I add the region to this same chart, well, we can drill down that we say, okay, we have USA, and USA that has this divisions. So you can have already a more down drill P&L. And if we press on France, the P&L is changing to France. So now you have on the left side like a toggle. You can change the P&L for every department. So in one time for your month end close, you can switch and see every every P&L, and you can also make it on cost center or what level you want. So that's this one. Then we also want to have a trend. So this is our benchmark. We also want to have a trend because we want to see how our revenue is developing over time. There's a little bit of a hazard in Power BI because I'm going to show it. If we use the trend for 1 month and you select 1 month, you only see 1 month. There is an option in Power BI, we will call that interaction, that we can turn off interaction between one slicer of one visual and another visual. But if we do that, we cannot control this anymore. So this is always showing everything. So we don't want to see that. We want to have an I want back. Oh, sorry, to the other page. So we use a stacked column chart. And we're gonna make based on our second calendar. So we add an extra calendar. I don't go in details for the DAX. Look on my videos on YouTube, then you explain everything about the DAX. But we use a second calendar. So we can use a measure that's always showing last year and current year till what we are selecting. So I'm going to use the month from the trend, the calendar trend. Where is the month? I think it's this one. And we want to have the time selection. No, the trend. We want to see last year and this year. And I have the different, yes, this one. So what we now are seeing is if we press revenue, you will see the trend from last year. And we see the trend from this year. Also, this we can manipulate. So now you see, like, I don't like it. You see how much this part is total of the total. So you see a little bit of interaction or overlapping columns. We can easily make the interaction differently. So I select the matrix, and then we go to the format options, edit interactions, and I don't want to see it like highlighted from the total. I want to filter it. So I see only the bar chart that is necessary for the revenue. So now you see, okay, the total revenue for this month is 4.2 million, just like you see over here. And you see last year it was 3.6 million or 3.7 million. And also for the other months. We can also make more data labels. So add data labels and turn it on. And now